Hello everyone and welcome to this series of online guitar lessons for beginners. And this is going to be a free course. I'm going to teach you how to play the guitar. For those who don't know who I am, I've been playing guitar for, I don't know, since I was 7. And I played in some bands through the years. No bands you've ever heard of course. I'm not famous or anything like that. But I play a lot of different styles. I've recorded over between 4,000 and 5,000 songs, just tutorial lessons on how to play various songs in different genres. And I wanted to do a series on guitar and teach people how to play from scratch. If you're brand new, if you're already playing guitar, you may not find a whole lot of value in what I'm going to teach. But if you haven't played guitar before and you're interested in learning, maybe I can help you out. Now, I don't have any technical background when it comes to playing guitar. I don't read music. I've never taken a guitar lesson. I don't know any musical scales. I couldn't tell you what one scale is from another. All right. So, and I can tab out songs, but I can't read them. I mean I can read them if I study one bar at a time on a tab sheet. I can figure out what's going on. But I can't read it like you would read from left to right, like people who can read music. I can't read music that way. It would take me forever to figure out a song on a tab sheet. I'd probably pick it up quicker by hearing it, just by listening to it. I have a pretty good ear, but I don't read music. So this first lesson, I just want to introduce myself to you and introduce what to look for when you're purchasing a guitar, because that's really the first step. Or you have to own a guitar to learn how to play a guitar. That makes sense. Or you could borrow one, I suppose. But if you're going out to purchase a guitar, what would be a couple of things to look for? And normally, the price is the first stumbling block, if you will. I mean, if you can go out and spend thousands of dollars on a guitar, I wouldn't recommend it, even if you could afford it, until you learn how to play a little bit, and then invest a few more dollars. I've never personally owned an expensive guitar. The most expensive guitar I've ever owned was $500. I've been playing. I played in a band when I was 15. I was playing in bars. I taught my neighbor, who was a couple of years older than me, how to play the bass on a 12-string. He had a 12-string Kent. And then we had a fireman in our local town who played drums. And somehow the three of us got together and we started hammering out different things after I taught this guy to play the bass on his 12-string, and then he purchased the bass. And then we got serious and started a band, and we started playing in our local community. We played at well, once we got good, people started hiring us for weddings and, banquets and Legion Hall dances. And we'd have our Friday night every 2 or 3 weeks. We'd play at the local fire hall and the local Legion Hall, and all the teenagers had something to do back then because there was no internet. And so they'd come to the dance, and of course, they were drinking outside and doing all kinds of stuff they probably shouldn't have been doing. But it was a great experience. And then I was playing in taverns and places I shouldn't have been, but the owners didn't care as long as I didn't drink, so that was okay. And anyway, I went through that, and then when I joined the Air Force, and I got stationed out on the West Coast, I was playing solo in bars by myself. With the help of karaoke. I used karaoke as my band, and that was quite an experience. And then I ended up overseas and played in a rock band in Germany for a couple of years with some very talented musicians who all could read music. I couldn't, but I fit in quite easily because I had a good ear. I knew a lot of the songs that they already did, and so it all worked out good. And then I came back and started a YouTube channel, and then started a website. And I've been doing that now for quite a few years, 15 years. I've covered over, close to 5,000 songs I've recorded. Yes, you heard me correctly. Not 100, 5,000. And many of them are on my website. You can watch a lot of the demos over there. Well, all the demos are free over there. But I've had to take a U-turn, as some of you may have known, heard me say in one of my previous videos. Anyway, I have to get away from doing covers and posting them on YouTube because copyright issues over there. So I'm going to give you a series on how to play the guitar, and then we're going to take another angle, and I'm going to dissect songs and show you how I play certain songs. So that'll be a separate series from this one. This is just going to be on learning how to play. And if you already play the guitar, maybe you'll pick up a few tips just by what I say. I'm not going to be really doing a whole lot this first lesson here. I just want to talk about purchasing a guitar, maybe what to look for, but price is usually the first thing, right? What can I afford? Well, like I said, I've never owned a guitar worth more than $500, and they've always been Yamaha APX guitars. My very first electric guitar, I can't remember what the name of it was, but I bought it on credit as a teenager, and then when I started buying acoustic guitars, I had an FG 340 Yamaha. I had zappers all over it, and I got rid of that eventually. Somebody wanted to buy it as a, I don't know why, but they wanted to buy it, so I sold it to them. Then I bought a series of these APX models, and they were, at the time, the first one I bought was a black one. It was an APX 700. It was worth $500 new. This is an APX 600. This was $100 cheaper, $400. And I owned an APX 500, which was $100 cheaper yet, $300 guitar. So a lot of my videos, you'll see me playing two guitars that look this color and one that's black. But none of them were worth more than $500 at any one time. Acoustic electric, you can plug it in back here. Plug it into an amplifier, which I've never done, but you could. A built-in tuner here on the top. There's a little bit of an equalizer up here, but it's got a built-in tuner. So for a couple $100, I would recommend not spending any more than that until you get good at playing, and then you can go out and invest in a couple $1,000s if you want to. That would be my first recommendation. So price is usually the first thing that holds people up, and what am I going to spend? What am I going to purchase? Now, I could say you could purchase an electric guitar. It might be easier yet because the strings on an electric guitar, of course, are a lot thinner, and it might be easier on your fingers because when you first start out, you're going to have soft fingertips, and those will have to get toughened up as you play to get the string to ring properly, so you don't have a ringing or buzzing on the board here. Okay, but I'm not going to recommend you go buy an electric, but just keep that in mind. An electric guitar is going to be easier to play after you learn how to play one of these. With the steel strings, you pick up an electric, and the strings are thinner, so it'll be like butter. You'd be like, wow, nothing to it. All right. The other thing, number two, I guess, besides price, is how does a guitar feel when you hold it in your hand or when you hold it in your arm? Now, this is a thin body, right? It's a cutaway here. There's different styles. There's different names for some of these guitars are big and bulky. But in all honesty, when you're holding this on your lap, now I hold it on my knee like this for when I'm playing and I'm teaching. I hold my guitar on an angle. That's not normally the way you would hold a guitar. You might if you have a strap around your neck if you're standing in front of a microphone, right? If you've got a strap on, and I would recommend you do that. Get a strap from the music store and strap it on your neck if you're going to be playing on stage and just see how it feels. But when you got it sitting on your lap, typically what I like to do is just put my elbow in the middle part here. Some guys will play the guitar this way back here, right? And they're reaching from back here like this to the hole. Well, okay, if that's how you feel, if that's how it makes you feel comfortable, that's okay. But I don't do that. I usually lay my elbow up here, and I want my pick to be right pretty much across the center of the sound hole right here. Okay? And so you might have long arms, you might have short arms. So that might be a factor on how big you want this guitar to be. So like I say, set it on your lap and just see if you just lay your arm on there and comfortably, are you lined up with the sound hole here without having to reach forward or pull back. The other thing is the neck here of the guitar. Okay, when I was teaching my neighbor to play bass on a Kent 12-string, it was a thick old neck. It was the same thickness all the way up, and the strings were. You need vice grips almost to push the strings onto the front. I mean, the strings were so far off the fretboard. They call that action, right? So you lower the action, the strings get close and easier to press. The higher the action, the strings are further away and harder to press. Well, this guitar, I don't know, he bought it from Sears or something. Probably paid $50 for it, but it was something to try to learn how to play it. I mean, 12-string and 6-string is the same. Everything's the same. It's just you got some harmony strings. There's no difference, and it's like playing an electric. Some people say, "Can you play acoustic? Can you play electric?" Well, it's the same. It's the same thing. Everything's the same. It's just one's electric, one's acoustic, and the 12-string's got some harmony strings built in, You got 12 instead of 6, but all the chords, everything's the same, right? So don't get confused with that. It's you play the guitar, you can play a 6-string, 12-string electric. It's all the same. I mean, chord-wise, right? When I'm talking chords. So holding the guitar in your lap and being able to hit the sound hole with the pick in the middle here like this is probably one of the first things to look for. Does it feel comfortable? Is it not too far off, away from your chest? If it's out too big, if it's too far out, and so forth. And then the neck, is it nice and thin? Can you get your hand around the neck lightly? You know, no problem. This is not a very thick neck, as you can see, right? You can see that, but it's pretty thin, right? I don't have big hands, but my hands go comfortably around it all the way up. And the other thing is, of course, is make sure that it's not too high off the board. And if you're buying a guitar like this, you won't have that kind of a problem. I'm talking if you bought like these old guitars back in the day, you spend $300 to $500 now off of on a guitar on Amazon. Doesn't matter if it's Yamaha or if it's Fender. They'll all be fairly easy to play. I'm pretty sure that they're all going to be the same. All right, so you won't have those issues anymore. But you know, the neck thickness, you want to make sure your hands can go around the neck quite easily. Okay. What else? So price, comfortability of the guitar. Some people have asked me about the pick. You know, what do I use for a pick? Well, I use a hard pick. I don't use a soft pick. I just play with a fairly stiff pick and hold it, you know, leave 2/3 of it sticking out. And this might not come as a surprise, but I was talking to a gentleman on Zoom a couple weeks ago, and he was always holding his pick 90 degrees to the hole. And I said, and he said I was having a problem doing an upstroke. And I said, well, no, when you're getting ready to strum down over the hole here, tilt your pick upward a little bit. And then when you come back up, tilt it downward a little bit. So roll your wrist like that, almost like you're really sloppy back here with your arm. Just rotate your wrist back and forth like that. And don't try to be 90 degrees to the hole. I don't know who taught him that or where he picked up that habit. And the other thing, of course, is when you're laying your arm, you can either lay your hand against the bridge. This is called the bridge back here, right? And you can either lay your hand against this, or what I tend to do is put my fingers on the body here, and I use that as in combination sometimes with laying my hand against the bridge. But I use my hands as a guide to how deep or how hard I want to hit the strings. Like some guys will play and they won't touch the body at all, right? They'll hold a pick like this, and they're trying to play the guitar, and they can't really hit the notes they want to hit because they don't, you know, it's difficult to do that. I don't know, I see guys do it, but I can't do it. I mean, I have to have a couple of fingers on the board here as an anchor point. And then when I strum, I'll just drag my fingers over the board, right? But I can adjust by, you know, moving straightening my fingers or bending them a little bit, how deep, how far away I want to get into the strings. So that's something that maybe I never considered before, is maybe just trying that. If you're one of these people who play with, maybe like with a fist and you don't touch the board at all, but you can't seem to get things to work right. It might be because you're not comfortable with, you know, hitting the strings in the right strings at the right time, because you don't have any control of your hand. You're kind of like all over the place. So maybe try anchoring your hand to the fretboard or to the body back here. For strings, I've tried different brands of strings over the years. I've settled on Gibson Ultra Lights, which is the thinnest strings you can get. You can get Gibson Lights, which are a little thicker. You can get Gibson Mediums, which are thicker strings yet. And you know, the further up you go, the thicker the string, but then it's harder to press, right? The thicker the string, the harder it is on the fingers when you're first learning. So just something to consider. I just always bought Ultra Lights, and they work well on these Yamahas for some reason. I never had any problem with them. When I'm putting the string, when I'm changing the string on the guitar, I change one string at a time. I pull this peg hole out, take the pressure off back here, tune it right down, pull the string out, pop this out with a, you know, there's probably tools you can get, but sometimes they'll come out with your finger or a little pair of pliers, pop that out, stick the string in, push that in, run the string, stick it through the hole, wind it around the peg, and then bend it so it's sticking straight up like that, tune it up so it's nice and tight, Sometimes you might have to push down on the peg as you're tuning it back here to keep that peg bit in the hole. And then I'll take a pair of pliers, set them on top of the post, and snip the string off. And then what I'll do is I'll tune it up to the pitch, right, to the tuner. And then I'll do this. I'll sit there and I'll go. I'll do that for about 30 seconds. And that stretches the string while it's on the guitar. And then I'll do the same thing with the next one. I'll do the same with the next one until I go through all 6. Then I'll tune them up to the tuner. And then I'll sit there and I'll just play a bunch of chords for like 30 seconds or a minute, just banging away. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe I'll play a song. And it'll usually go to tune. And then when I tune it up the next time, it's usually good. It'll stay usually in place. That's my experience anyway with tuning and setting up the guitar. What used to happen years ago, of course, when you bought these old cheap guitars, was that you could pick up somebody's guitar, let's say at a pub or if you're in a party, and you play the chord, the G chord, and it sounds good, and you play a D chord and it sounds like it's out of tune. It's like, yeah. So then you tune it up to it's in tune with the D chord, and you go back to a C or a G, and it's not quite in tune there either. And you won't have those issues, I don't think, anymore with these guitars. I think it had to do with the metal frets when they put them on the fretboard, that maybe they weren't quite lined up, and you would get this tuning issue. You'd have a problem with really cheap guitars. It wouldn't stay in tune. And you won't have those issues anymore. All right, so no need to spend a lot of money on a guitar. A couple $100 will get you into the game. Like I said, put a strap on it, cover it, put it over your neck. Get comfortable, make sure it feels good. Make sure that the neck feels good. Parts of the guitar real quickly. I mean, the bridge back here. This is the the pegs back here. You got the body of the guitar. You got the neck. You got the fretboard here with the frets. Fret 1, fret 2, fret 3. Spaced apart with these metal bars. You got a headstock, tuning pegs, tuning post, a nut right here. This is usually made out of bone or hard plastic. Right, that'll wear sometimes. You may have to replace that. I haven't ever replaced one, I don't think, over the years. But sometimes they wear. All right, so not too much there. Just a couple of little things to watch for when you're purchasing your first guitar. Those prices I quoted you, of course, are not with a case. So you probably add another 60 or $100 for a case. If you're going to be lugging the thing around, you don't want to carry it around in a garbage bag, for crying out loud. Spend a few extra bucks, put it in a case. If you're going to be playing it as an electric, of course, you can plug it in there, as I mentioned. You'll need to get a cord. There's already a built-in tuner. If you have a guitar and you don't have a built-in tuner, there's free tuners online where you can go to and just Google it, and you'll find them, and you'll sit in front of the computer and hit a string, and you'll see a needle move, right? Tune it up till it's in the center, or the color goes green. For example, this one has green and yellow. So when you hit the note, it goes up and it goes past the green. It'll go yellow or orange, and then you tune it back a little bit. Then it comes back and it'll be green. And of course, you can always check by hitting these harmonics, what they call harmonics, up here, just on this 12th fret where the double dots are. Just lay your finger and look at your needle and tune it that way as well. And between that and hitting it open, you'll get it where it should be. And then, even though you do that, sometimes all your lights are green. You may still find that when you play a certain chord, it sounds good, and then there's like one string that sounds a little out. And so I will still tweak the tuning, even though it might be all green back here. Sometimes I don't always trust that. I trust this. I don't always get it right, but playing several thousand songs over the years, I've learned to trust my ear and not the technology so much. The other thing you may want to invest in, besides some picks and an extra set of strings, of course, is one of these guys here called a Capo or Capo, some people call it. And all that does is just change the pitch. So that basically replaces the nut, right? So you put that on here, and you're playing at a higher key now instead of playing it without that. So that's all that does. It changes the pitch. You'll see me use that on a lot of songs. And it's good to have. Glenn Campbell swore by this. It changed everything once he discovered one of those, according to him. Anyway, and you'll get into situations where you'll have different tunings on the guitar. I don't rarely play besides with what I call drop D, which is I tune that E string down. So I can play a D chord, and I got that deep bass at the top. But there are songs that have different tunings, you know. This isn't like a standard tuning with the strings. There's an E, A, a D, G, B, and an E. But there are songs out there where the strings are tuned differently. In fact, you can hit the strings open and you'll have a chord, right? It'll already be tuned to a chord. And then guys will put a slide on their finger and move around on a board like that to pick out different scenarios in the song. But I don't teach that. I don't do that. But anyway, I think that's all I need to talk about this first lesson. Just a couple of pointers maybe on pricing, fitting of the guitar, strings, pick position, and yeah, you get ready to go. As I said, or maybe I didn't mention this yet, but over on my website at kirbysguitarlessons.com, if you go over there, you'll find several thousand songs, demos available. You can watch them on the pages. If you go to the very menu at the very top, at the far right, there's a page there. I think it's called All. And in there are all the artists. The ones on the menu, that's just a small sampling. I've got lots of other bands and lots of other artists under that far menu that you can see. They're listed A to Z, and then the name of the artist, and in brackets how many tutorials I have by that artist. So the Beatles, I've got 60-some songs, and Elvis, I've got over 100 and some, but I don't have them all listed. Don Williams, another one, I got over 160 lessons on him, and I don't even have, I think I got 35 or 40 songs on my Don Williams page. So there's a lot of songs you're not going to see yet. But I've got, a lot of the top bands. I've got a lot of 60s and 70s music. And anyway, you can go ahead, take a look, and watch this free chord sheets over there. And the pricing's fairly, a few bucks if you want to purchase a lesson, and if you already play. And if you don't play, don't worry about it, because this whole series here is free. And I just want to take you through my process of what I went through when I was learning how to play. Okay, not a big deal. It's not technical. We're not going to read music or anything like that, as I mentioned. You can do that on your own later on. But I just play by ear. Always have, and probably always will. All right, thanks for your time, folks. And we'll see you in the next lesson.